Okay, so welcome to part two. Before I go any further, I probably should give you an idea of what tools I used and what supplies I used to do the detailed parts on the weld car. So I guess I'll start with the basics here. These are my flat pliers. They don't have any teeth. They're good for crimping and bending wire. So yeah, and they have a little bit of a spring in them, which is nice. And then these are just basic flush cutters. So these are only for cutting brass, and nothing, you don't want to cut any steel or anything like that. But copper and brass and light gauge steel wire you can do. So they're cutters. And the next set of pliers I have are the round ones. So these have a round plier end, and that's for bending the wire around to get a nice arc, smooth arc. And these were like $1.50 at the dollar store, and you got 4 of them. So yeah, super cheap, but handy. And bendy tweezers, angled tweezers, very handy. I also use straight tweezers as well. And then, of course, you need your handy dandy knife. This is another dollar store find. It was $1.25. Just X-Acto. You only get one blade, but you can buy a 10-pack of blades for pretty cheap. So yeah, I've got about 4 of these now. Kind of handy to have. And this set wasn't actually too bad. This is a set of, well, you can put them in a pin vise, or you can just use them by your hand, but it's 0.1 mil all the way up to 1 millimeter. I've broken the 0.3 and the 0.4. And I think my son broke the 0.1. Why you would ever want to drill a 0.1 millimeter hole, I have no idea. But I've settled on the 0.4. So I bought a 10-pack of 0.4s, and they're on their way. That seems to be pretty good. And then the 0.6, what I'll use for my other wire. Anyway, those are handy. That's what I drilled all the holes in. And then I like the gel, the contact adhesive, but I use the gel. Again, from the dollar store, I think you get 3 mils for $1.25. So I always have this on hand. And I use a toothpick to apply it, just so I don't get it all over the place. And then supplies. This is my 0.3 brass wire, 0.3 mil, and I got 5 meters of this. And this is what I did the coupler cut bars with. Yeah, just coupler cut bars. And then I have 0.5 mil, and this is more of like a soft, actually it might even be aluminum wire, I'm not sure. It says it's special, it's copper actually, special copper wire for jewelry. Anyway, that was the one that I did all the piping and the plumbing with on the tops and the sides. Very easy to cut, light gauge. The attach point for the coupler cut lever is 60 thou styrene. Just cut it small. And I drilled 2 0.4 millimeter holes. And you can see them. Yeah, there's a little bit of a, there it is. Yeah, so the trick with this one is you drill the holes in the large piece first, and then you cut out the tiny little piece. Don't cut out the tiny little piece first, because you'll drive yourself crazy. What I did was I drilled 2 holes on this side of the styrene and 2 holes on this side of the styrene, sliced it down here, and then I made it fit. So yeah, and do your, and glue the piece into the styrene first. Glue the 0.3 mil, what do you call it? I guess it'd be the holder. I'm not sure. Can't think of a word. Glue the holder in first and then cut. And then you've got something to grab onto and something to use the tweezers on. And it's a lot easier than doing it on the car, actually. Okay? And then I drilled a hole in the bottom of the coupler box and just glued that in. So you guys have if you have a nice car that comes equipped with this, you can copy the coupler cut bar, but it's just a series of bends. Again, I use my flat edge pliers. I use these guys to do that. They're really nice, and just bend it with your finger. You don't need to use the round ones. And then the piping, that's where I use the round, the little green ones here. use those green ones there. Okay, and then the last details, you guys have all seen this. That's the safety tape. Cut it into strips, cut it as you like, and stick it on. And then these are my, what are they, 10 packs? 20 packs. Yeah, 20 packs of air hoses and brackets. And so they go on each end, one on each end. So those are the details. And now it's, I've already done the bottom now. So I'm going to move on to the next step. So that's in the next video. Just give me a sec to get prepared. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I won't bore you too long with this one, but this is the trucks and the wheels. I just mixed up some acrylic. This is pure black. I think these are from Walmart, Folk Art. Pure black and burnt umber. And it's probably 3-to-1, if not 4-to-1 for the burnt umber in favor of the black. I just mix it up, and I keep it fairly liquid with some water. And you guys have all seen this, so I'll just basically I just coat the truck nicely, and then I do the faces of the wheels. Get in there, and then I wipe it off by spinning it in my finger. I wipe off the flange, and it's clean, and then that dries. And I also do the inside of the truck here, and I do the inside of the wheels as well, and the axle. And then I do here as well. So basically that's that. Nothing too fancy. That's the first coat on the trucks. Okay, so I'll leave it at that. Not too hard. All right, the next step here is to, first of all, prime all of the piping that I've done and all of the, basically all the wiring that I've done. So that'd be the 0.3 and the 0.5 mil wire that I've added on here. So for my primer, I'm just using Country Twill, again, Folk Art. I think that's Walmart brand. So I basically just take it right out of the cap with I'm using a 10-1 brush, really fine. You don't need to be super fine, but this is what I have. And then to get it to coat nicely around the wire, you just add a bit of water and it'll flow nicely. So I've primed one end. So you can still see a bit of shine on the coupler cut bar there. The reason why I'm priming it is the yellow I don't find coats too well. So if I put on this like tan color here, the Country Twill, it provides a good base for the yellow. So the next coat will be yellow. And this side I haven't primed yet. So this is all still bare. Anyway, so I will get on the yellow. And the yellow I'm using Vallejo 70.953 flat yellow. Just a basic yellow. And again, I just take it from the bottle here. I don't need to squeeze it out. You don't need much. And just apply it over there. And eventually it kind of blends in with it looks like it's part of the original OEM car here from Walthers. Looks like you never did anything. All right. So just go through and do your coupler cut bars and the little piece of styrene there, the 0.60 thou styrene. And then move on to the next step. So that's again Country Twill and then flat yellow. Okay, you've got all the pipes painted now yellow and they're drying. But the next step is to use my cough syrup grime. And that again is the same mixture of these two guys here, but with 50% isopropyl alcohol added in, and it's a fairly runny mix. And I'm going to use a wide brush here, and this I want very dilute, so I need a lot of water. And what I want to do is I want to start dragging it up the sides, just like this. that there should be enough paint for the entire well. I'll just use more water. And so this is the first of a series of washes to get some basic grime into the well. And I coat the floor as well. Ha ha. I think that was a pun. I'm not laughing. And then I coat the end walls as well. And then this guy here. So again, this has been dull coated, so it should have a bit of tack or a bit of stick to it. And don't worry about those little dots. They actually, I don't know if that's dust from the paint or from the tray that I just mixed it on, but those things can form the basis for rust dots. So I don't mind when they show up. Actually, I leave them, and then I come back with the oils and I turn them into rust dots. And sometimes the bigger ones I actually streak. So they're quite random right now. If you can see on that side, the dots are really random. So they do make themselves into nice little beginning spots of rust. So leave them in, work with them, don't fret about them. So yeah, I want a lot pooling in the corners here, on all four corners, because basically the wheels are going to spin it up and it's going to hit right here and then flow down and get stuck and gather in the corners. So yeah, basically I just do this for like 15 minutes until I get the desired tone I want. This may be a bit dark, so I may use a bit more lighter brown as well. Finding this is more black. So, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you're using so much water that really you can go over it again with brown, or you can even use powders to lighten it up and make it browner if you want. So yeah, basically wide brush, get lots of water, puddle it up, and just keep pulling it up and letting it fall down. And I try to do more of the pulling up, so I pull it in the corner here, and I pull it up in the corner. I try and do the corners like 3-4 times as much as I do the sides here, because I want more paint to stick on the sides, and it actually does. So I'll flow it all down here, and pull it up, pull it up, pull it up, rotate, let the puddle go there, pull it up, go to the ends, pull it up, let the paint flow all the way down there, pull it up, pull it up, pull it up, pull it up. Just keep going around and around. And then when you get satisfactory result that you're happy with, you can wick the puddle out with a dry brush. Just dry out your brush and stick it in the puddle and it'll suck it up, just like that. Okay? And then you can move on to the next coat if you want. Let it dry. I'd let it dry overnight. You don't actually have to dull coat it, as long as you don't hit it too hard with the next coat. Like my finished one here, I ended up doing all that stuff, completely finishing it without dull coating it. It still needs dull coat to be finished, but I was able to move through all the steps without another dull coat. Again, as long as you're not scratching too hard or pushing too hard, you won't rub off the other one, and let it dry as well. So that's pretty much the next step. And then, work it in here too. You want to get it on the platforms. These things are not pristine, right? There's going to be some gathering of goo and dirt and everything else. What I would say about this stuff is watch the puddles. We can work with the puddles, but it's nice to get it to be an even surface. So this is where you want to actually put on a very light coat, let that dry, and try and get it to spread evenly around. What I've done on this section here is I went lighter, and then when I dropped down a level into here where the piping is, I went darker, because I figured that there'd be more kick up on this lower level. And then the ends, same thing. Go pretty heavy on the ends where the wheel kick up's going to be, and just heavy in general on the ends, really, I'd say. But still, like It's not too hard, really. You just put it on there. Oh, let's see if I can bring it back, get it to focus. Yeah, sorry guys, it's not wanting to focus. There we go. So again, this is just your first light coat to get something to dry onto the model, and then you can go back and add more once it's dried. And maybe this is a fairly new well car, so you don't want to go too heavy on it. The other one I went heavier on. Maybe this one I'll actually do a bit lighter. The other one actually had a patched TTX logo, so I figured that one was older. And this one would be newer. Anyway, so this one is going to be newer. I'm not going to do as heavy a job on it. Not as many dings and scratches and rust spots, but yeah, just put a coat on here. Don't need to worry too much. Just get some paint on there. Very little bit of paint, even if it's just a little bit. And you can even go on the outside too. You might want to do one inside first. And this one I'd use a lot of water. So you notice I haven't even really dipped back into my paint since I started, really. It's still on the brush. And really all this is just a very, very light wash. And let gravity do its thing. Let it pool at the bottom. Let it run down the sides. Make it look natural. If you just put the car down, it'll all puddle at the bottom naturally anyway. And then again, you can come by. So here we go. There's a big blop right there. And just wick it off. And wick the whole bottom off there. So now it's dirty, but it's not disgusting. And you can leave some areas dirtier than others. Like I think right here should be dirtier. Right here should be dirtier at the end of the car, where the wheel kickup's going to be. Yeah, right here too. Probably should be dirtier. And then underneath there's a little extra piece of steel here. Maybe that should be dirtier. But that's the first coat. We'll let that dry. We can work with that. And then I'll do the other side. Actually, maybe I'll do that off camera. But yeah, so our well is pretty much dry now. And you can see it's just grimy. But it's still yellow. It's not as grimy as this one. This one here is a bit older, a bit grimier. We'll get to that stage, but I think I might leave this one actually pretty clean like that. And we'll move on. So again, not much paint, very, very little paint, lots of water. I think Boomer would be proud. Lots and lots of water. Anyway, yeah, this one's gonna be fairly clean. So I'm gonna finish up this side off camera, and I'll move on to the next step. All right.